Hey, Howell here. What I want to do today is I want to talk about the class system in, well, I was going to say the UK, but this could easily be, just England or even the South. So one of the reasons why I want to talk about this is I have a particular window. I've had my life situation has given me a particular window on the class system, in so much that particularly my dad was a social mover from working class to middle class, and he was also, I was undiagnosed with like dyslexia and dyspraxia, and I didn't do well at school, and I didn't find it at all engaging. I didn't like it, and so I was kind of in a class full of people from what I would regard as working class. I don't like the word, but it is the word which communicates. So I will be using it as much as I don't like it. And they had local accents. They lived. Many of them were from sort of local authority, local housing, and things like that. What I didn't realize is I just felt always different. I felt very alienated. They viewed me as different. All I remember is music was the great connector. And then my dad had this idea that I would do, because I was the youngest in the year, and I would do a second year, and I'd be in the A stream. And so all of a sudden I was amongst sort of slightly people more of my own backgrounds to a degree. Now, when my father was, he was a typical social moving sort of snob, really. They sort of closed the garden gate behind them. But one of the things I realised, and this is in line with the talk I did on the refugee crisis, is that you're dealing with culture. Class is culture. And it was Marx that said, I remember this one thing when I was doing A level of sociology, I thought it was really true, is that the relationship between the classes is one of conflict. But I would say the relationship between culture is one of conflict, whether it be age or ethnicity or the environment or what country you come from. It's very much like that. And let me give you my structure of the class system. So you have the working class, you have the middle class, you have the upper middle, and then you have the aristocracy and the royal family. And then it gets complicated. There are complexities because there's this upper working, lower middle. And then you've got the two aspects to the middle class, which would be the plain middle class, and then the sort of more cosmopolitan sort of middle class. And that's the same for the upper middle class. And then you have the aristocracy and the royal family, of which the royal family are, of course. And then you have like migration brings another dimension into it. Gypsies and Romas brings another dimension into it. Unemployment. There's loads of things. There's loads of street homelessness, whatever. But the situation is that gave me a real window into it. I'll give you a story. There was this guy. I saw a Gibson Les Paul guitar in a window, and it was the first one I'd ever seen, other than books and television. And it was blue, and it had those open face pickups in it. Open, like what they call zebra. I think it was zebra pickups. I'm not sure. But I remember looking at it and thinking, wow, the price tag was £535. And it had those kind of ivory machine heads, probably made of plastic. And so I went to this kid and I said, look, let's give some Les Paul in town. Let's go look after school. Let's go and have a look at it. And you could see he was really intrigued, really, really intrigued by it. And he wanted to go and see it. And he goes, no, my ma will be waiting for me. My ma will be expecting me. And I sort of said, well, just give her a call and say that you'll be a little bit later on. It was only like 4:00 or anything. Give her a call and see what. And then you could see his eyes rolling and rolling and like he really wanted to. I said, we can sit in the sun. It's a nice day. Get a cup of tea. And he goes, no, my mother will be expecting. I said, look, there's a phone box there. You can phone her. Just if she says yes, no. And he just wouldn't come. And you knew he wanted to come because he's got that A to B programming. There was no spontaneity there at all. And then when I went to university, I kind of always had that gave me an objective view on the middle class as well. And when I was at university, I saw these middle class people, some upper middle class from public schools, going to what are private schools, what we call public schools, and they just lived in this bubble. It was almost like they were unaware of it, and it's kind of in your face in Leeds, the whole working class thing. It's really in your face in Leeds, and I was just, and yet I saw them. I saw what do you make of the locals here? What do you make of it? And it was like they just didn't want to know. They just wanted to live in that university bubble. And I found it a bit sort of, well, there's a real education there, because it really opened my eyes up. It really changed my political views. I want to talk about here these revolutions that we've seen. So you got the Bolsheviks, any revolution which goes for the aristocracy and goes for the upper class and the aristocracy and the royal families, you can tell that it's a communist revolution. And like with the Bolsheviks takeover of Russia, they go in at the top and they take them down, because they're the intellectual, philosophical class who are a threat to the revolution. And what they really want in the revolution are sort of very uneducated and quite unaware people, not particularly cosmopolitan. So they do all the book burning and the glasses. You can see it in Cambodia, you could see it in Vietnam and Korea, even in China. And some will allow this remnants of nationalism. They'll think, well, we can use nationalism, national identity, to woo the masses, like in China. But at the end of the day, it's all the Bolsheviks' revolution is not about Russia. Remember, Stalin came from Georgia, Trotsky was from the Ukraine, and what I'm thinking of here is that what you have is an education system. It's the same with the French Revolution and everything. What you've got is, I would do it from the bottom up. What you've got is an education system. You've got an education system which alienates many people. I remember when I was very young, the average mark for a person was grade 3 CSE. So it'd be like 4 or 5 grade C CSEs, which is pretty much a useless mark. A grade C in O-level is okay, but not CSE. And so what that does is it means that a large percentage of the population have been alienated in the education system. And so who makes the education system? Well, it's kind of like bureaucrats that went, upper middle class bureaucrats. And then what happens is that they've got this education system that doesn't really reflect or respond to the majority of the people, because most people are working class or upper working, lower middle. And again, I'm going to say it again, I don't like these phrases very much, particularly working class. And if I would change the education system so it really reflected and responded to the people, to the population. Like in Holland, for example, you have a class system, but nowhere near as bad as England. It's quite similar in many ways. And what you have in Holland is these schools, I think, I'm not pronouncing it right, so Harvo or Marvo. So they all go to different schools. And it is all based on, your educational, academic success. But there is a class system in there. You could look at the background of people from Harvo and Marvo and see a pattern of class there. You could see it. And still, even with that, they don't have a class system, nothing like ours at all. And to a large extent, this is a real Southern English thing. The class system seems to sort of fade away as you go north and into Scotland and into Wales and Northern Ireland. In the north of England, particularly, say, Yorkshire, where I lived, snobbery is utterly frowned upon, completely frowned upon. And one of the things is that for some reason there's a kind of political correctness about working class people, that people, you can say what you like about the middle class, you can say what you like about the aristocracy, but you've got to be careful what you say about the working class. It's kind of a bit protected, because you'll be sort of labelled as being privileged or something like that. But and you can say what you like about the middle class, particularly white middle class. You can say whatever you want, more or less. And you can see that in the way I'm talking now. I'm being really, I don't like the word middle class, but it's the one that communicates. I don't like the word working class, but it's the one that communicates best. And the public school, private school, comprehensive school system doesn't help at all in this. I mean, they don't have the grammar schools anymore, but what you have are comprehensive, which is where I went. And then you've got, from comprehensive, you've got what they call public schools, but they are actually private schools where you've got to pay to go. And then you have boarding schools. I don't really have any great opinions of whether that is a healthy thing or not. But there you go. And so that's my 11-minute talk on the class system. And thank you very much for joining me.